Okay, I wanted to remove the distributor cap because if we drop the trans cross member, we start pulling the engine rocks back, it can bust that cap. So Dodges are 18436572 firing order, and the way to tell which cylinder is which, the driver's side is 1, 3, 5, 7. On the passenger side, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. Yeah, you get the idea. Let's get this off, and we'll see about getting that distributor cap out of the way. Paint pen. I think I want to mark all these when I take them off, because I'm like that. He's got zip ties holding stuff together. See if it'll break. Yeah. Dang, that's a good zip tie. Wow. Alright. 1. I know, it's unsightly, but I like to throw things back together quick. 3. Golly. 5. And 8. Ocho. I wonder if this is a snap or a screw tie. Hopefully it's a snap tie. Ooh, about fell. Yep, it is a snap tie. And then I gotta get that off. Like I said, let's break it. Break it. Okay. We gotta cut it. Maybe these work. Old dude like to have things secure, just like me. OCD. I think he would be happy knowing that this thing's getting new life with a Cummins. Alright, so this right here is looks to be a single pickup distributor. You can tell that by the fact that it only has one connector. If it's a dual pickup, it'll have 2 connectors. I believe that's correct. Alright, distributor cap up. Popping all that off. Coil wire off. Because I didn't have to disconnect this. Ew, nasty fuel going through there. Ta-da! That's quick. Checkity check, 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 check. Oh, that's not what I want. So for radiator hoses, we'll start at the top. Flathead, flathead. I think I always use band clamps when I'm replacing these types of deals. So you get the idea. Those are super easy. I'll come back to you. I don't know if you wear gloves when you work, but don't ever buy Glove Works by Amex. These are absolute trash. Just so you know. Alright, taking off the upper radiator hose. Cool little trick that I like to use if they're stuck is, maybe this will go wide enough. Get those wide, lightly grab around the base, and you should be able to twist to break the seal. Yep, hear that? Popped. You want to be careful doing that on these though. These are not steel and they can really mess up if you do that. I'm recording this because there's a pretty good likelihood that I'm going to wear this. And it would make good content. I'm going to try not to though. Alright. We are about to make a mess. You ever pull a blower hose off? Be prepared for messes. Just get at the top, do it from up here. There you go.
Let's talk about radiators real quick. You have to be very careful on the inlet and outlet side. A lot of older radiators are a soft copper, and a lot of newer stuff is a soft aluminum or a plastic. So I showed that trick with the pliers on how to pop it loose, but you need to be careful because you can distort and bend the inlet and outlet of your radiators as well as your heater core. If they're very stuck, a lot of times you're more often it's better just to use a razor blade and cut the hose off and save your radiator. So keep that in mind.
All right, check radiator hoses. Next, power steering belt. Why? Because we need to get the power steering belt off. And then we're gonna pull this fan pulley with the fan, and we'll get the shroud and the radiator, and there is kind of an order of operations here. That seems too big. Maybe it's 9 out of 16s. Is it 15? No, surely God, it wasn't metric. Kind of feels like it's metric. I'm gonna grab a 15. The one snap-on socket I have. Found a 15 mil. Okay. There's that. Loosened up, and have to get the bottom. I don't think I do. Wait, no, I don't think I do. The whole bracket should swing now. I always forget the mechanics of how that goes. It's an order of operations for everything, and I always forget those. Mopar. Oh my gosh, about fell. Mopar stuff usually has a half-inch divot there, and you can, yeah, see, bringing the pump in. So that's out, that's in. See, I think I've watered that thing before. All right, so we're off, we're off, we're off, and we're off. Ooh, I probably should have left that on to break those free. Well, I'll show you a trick now that we're here. These halves, they sure look like it. Let's get a couple of them. 13 is basically a half. Basically a half. Half. Should have left that on to break it free. We've already got it off, so what we'll do is we'll go here, we'll hold another one, and we will pull against each other. Oh, it's already loose. This old dude. And we'll do it again, and eventually you'll get them all broke free this way. And when they're loose like this already, you can probably just grab the pulley and, yeah. Anyway, that's supposed to be a lot tougher. I don't think this thing's been together. I don't think it has any miles on it being together. I don't think I should label the fan. I think we know what it is. Alright, we're gonna bolt that back on because we don't want to lose anything. So, as you can see, what I have done is I have straight up changed my mind. I left the fan shroud on and pulled the radiator out. And it seems to be a better idea anyhow. Radiator hose, power belt, fan, shroud, radiator. Cross it out. I've got coolers and translines. Ew. Alright, I know it's a little out of order, but I'm pulling the wiring harness. The guy that's getting this truck is just going to get like a donor 93. So anyway, we're going to get the full wiring harness, and instead of disconnecting off the engine, we'll probably pull this off and drape it over the engine just for speed and convenience sake. Anyway, started on these 80s trucks. This thing terminates the marker light, so marker light, and then headlight, and then come around here, you've got horns, you've got ground, headlight, turn signal, marker light again, and then there's some zip ties and stuff. So anyway, we're just going to work our way. We're not going to disconnect anything off of like a starter relay. We're going to actually pull the bolt out, and then we'll just continue to do that and work our way until we have this harness piled on top of the engine. We'll probably pull it with it on the engine, but we'll see. That may change. All right, day 2, getting a little bit of a late start. That's how some things go. We've done a lot of stuff. We drained the radiator, drained the oil, removed the exhaust, the headers, the hood, distributor cap and wires, radiator hoses, power steering belt, fan, shroud, starter. We've got a few more things that we need to take care of. Let's see what we've got on here. So I'm gonna try to get the coolers and the trans lines. This truck here has a lot of aftermarket stuff. See if I can show you. It's got a dual remote oil filter set up, so remote oil filter stuff. We can take those lines off there. I'd like to kind of keep as much together as possible. Let's see, so here's the, I believe this is the power, hold on, transmission, engine oil, power steering cooler. So there's 3 different coolers on this, and the old guy was really trying to keep it cool. He was really pulling with this thing. Honestly, I'm fairly surprised that he didn't try to put a big block in it. But anyway, it's still a pretty cool old rig. So we'll get to getting those coolers off. Let's see what we can do. I think I might come from the bottom with a screwdriver. See if I can just pull those lines right off.
Okay, so for convenience sake, we're definitely going to skip through the oil cooler setups and all the removal there. It's non-OEM stuff, and honestly, it's not really pertinent to removing the engine. I just wanted to have it out for another project in the future.
All right, so we are finishing up a lot of things. I've got a lot of the oil coolers out. Power steering cooler is the only one that is left. So we got the radiator, the trans cooler, the engine oil cooler. Gotta get the power steering cooler out. Fuel lines, and I'm gonna finish up getting this harness out. And after that, we got the drive shaft, the trans linkage, the trans cross member, and this thing should come right out. So keep your fingers crossed for us. Okay, we're getting close. Got the supply fuel line off. This setup didn't have a return line. All of the coolers are out. We don't like a ton of stuff. I won't be unplugging these individual modules, and my thought process behind that is that if I keep everything plugged in, for example, the starter relay and the voltage regulator, I can just slap that back in on another truck. Let's see, like I said, I've got all these coolers pulled, and we're making a lot of progress. I wish that I'd got out here early, but I had some business to attend to in town. But anyway, I know I haven't showed exactly everything I've been doing, but the main thing that you want to keep in mind, that was off the valve cover. The main thing you want to keep in mind is that anything that's attached to the truck has to come off, right? So it's good to have a pair of cutters to cut the old zip ties. Not too bad. Alright, so generally there's a firewall ground, there's a core support ground, and there's an engine ground. That's not always the case, especially with these trucks that have really been jacked around on. Come on, junky little cutters. Oh, come on. Alright, we're gonna find something else. This is just not gonna work. This truck has 4 or 5 aftermarket gauges, so there's some additional stuff. There's an oil pressure gauge, there's a ammeter, what else is there? Temperature gauge. Oh yeah, this is what's up. All right. I'm leaving some stuff, but the majority of it's coming off. All right, we are slowly but surely making progress through here. It can become a mess. This truck had lots of extras on it. Let's just put it that way. Lots and lots of extras. By extras, I mean just add-ons the old man put on here, like wiring for trailer brake controller, wiring for tachometers, lots of aftermarket gauges. I mean, he did things the way he wanted to do things. Now, on a really nice truck, you obviously don't want to throw something over the side, but this truck isn't what I would call really nice by any stretch of the imagination. Could be though, with the restoration. We got a lot of wiring to sort through. Best if you can just kind of single everything out. I've already gone through this wiring once whenever I was getting the truck running, so mainly just already know kind of where everything goes in a sense. All right, let's see, what's this white? This is more than likely trailer brake controller as well. It's the negative for the trailer brake controller. Maybe he's not going to come back to haunt me. Alright, well, this is taking forever, so. Alright, so I haven't really unplugged anything that is important to make the truck run, and I'm kind of doing this to make a mental note for myself. There are a few things like, let's see, what did I do with it? This bad boy was probably, could have been like an EGR timer or something. Something that generally is not needed. There's a few other connectors down here that were not plugged in. Provisions this truck probably never had. At one point in time I probably could have told you what they did, but I've forgotten a lot, unfortunately. So now we're moving on to the bulkhead, and what I'm kind of doing is what I've been doing is I've been dissociating the factory wiring and the aftermarket wiring. We've just kind of been pulling them apart, and so we're getting there. My goal is by this evening, before I go to bed, to have this truck apart. Bulkhead connector uses a 3/8 on these old trucks. Let's see, that should pull right out. Alright, so we've got bulkhead, ballast coil resistor, we've got the ignition control module. Alright, let's see if I can pull this around. This little duck foot here, hopefully you can see it. That is a set of fusible links. This is a little bit more involved than a normal engine swap would go, because we're in a sense cannibalizing a lot of stuff out of here. There's a couple zip ties, you probably can't see them. Just cutting them, that way we free up the starter wiring. So there's generally a few connectors down here that run what I call the body harness, and the body harness is going to have your tail lights, any indicators for your transmission, your what else? Your reverse lighting on the transmission, fuel pump or fuel sending unit. Anyway, this is where they connect to the engine bay harness. So these trucks have a cab side harness, an engine bay harness, and a now we're making some real progress. Got the bulkhead and the majority of it out. Now we just need to get this ground, a few more connections off the engine, and we'll be good to go. Alright, I don't know if you can see it or not, but one of the things that always bothers the heck out of me is these stupid connectors for the wiper motor. And they've got this tab that has to be pushed down, which this one is already out. You can see there's a little barb there. So this should, in theory, come out. Golly, these gloves. Glove works at O'Reilly's. Trash. There we go. See? Maybe the orientation just wasn't right, you know? So there's that. There's really not much left other than that. There's vacuum advance. Looks like they've got a couple of these here. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure what those do. If anybody knows, comment below, because I sure don't know. Alright, distributor's disconnected. It got all the grounds off everything. Started to disconnect all this, but I may plug it back in. Looks like we're just going to take it off the whole engine here. We'll have to take this coil wires off. I believe that's a 5/16 as well. Seems to be working. So he's done this different than I would have. He wired the good grief, he stacked a ton of washers on there. To each his own, but it's not necessary. What he did is he wired these together. This is, one of these is for your coil. Actually, no, he didn't. I'll take that back. He just taped them together for some reason. Not really necessary. That's for your, what am I saying? Tachometer. So, black with the yellow tracers, tachometer. Red is your coil. A lot of people don't know this about these trucks is they don't take 12 volt hot. They take only 12 volts when starting, and then they drop down to about 6 to 8 volts. That's why they have that ballast coil resistor on there. Look at that, he had this just wrapped around it. I have a feeling the older he got, the less he liked to work on these things. Alright, we just have a few more connections down here. We'll be finishing up pulling this harness off. Whew, boy, we have been after it. And your grounds, wiring. It's the moment of truth, and hopefully we have everything off. At least for the factory engine harness here. There we go. 185 model V8 complete with everything you'd need. Alright, Mopars really like to frustrate me. Like, let's put the engine oil pressure sending unit way back here under the distributor. Very difficult to remove. I don't feel like cutting anything. That's just not me, you know. One cool trick, if it's not terribly tight, you can stand your wrench up vertically in a space and you can get a lot more twists. Brake booster. Usually, a lot of times you can pop these out, but oh, I hate these junky old clips. Nice. Alright. That's off. All that's disconnected. You know what? Trans kickdown should be able to stay. All we lack is the motor mounts, trans mounts, and trans cross member. Getting close. Alright. So the yoke for this was, the joint straps were just 3/8. This main cross member bolt here was a 3/4, and then we'll start to drop that. When we drop that, we'll need to support this with a jack and wood block, and then once we start lifting up on it, this will likely drain and make a mess of transmission fluid. But we're getting close. What else do we need? The chronometer cable, take off with some wrenches. We do have a wiring here. That's for the reverse. Sorry about that, my battery died. What I was saying is we're getting really close to being able to get this out. We've got this here, which is a 3/4, and these U-joint straps were 3/8. We'll have to drop this cross member, and when we do that, we'll support this with a jack. And I mean, we're really coming along. Come on, wiggle it back and forth, and it should come out. We got the weight of that transmission on there. It'll come out. Ratchets are hammers too. Look at that. Beautiful. Alright. As I said earlier, we need to get a jack under here to support transmission. Ideally, we put a wood block here because you can dent the pan. So while I'm under here, I'm going to figure out what size these are. It's 3/4 too big, so it'll probably be 5/8 and 11/16 if my memory serves me correctly. We'll go ahead and break all these free while we're under here. Ooh, they're stiff. This one's broken free. Broken free. I don't remember. Why are these built like that? Leave these. Remove these. I believe there is clearance enough to put an opening wrench to hold the top side of that. And 4, so all 4 of those broken free. Need to get this linkage off the transmission as well. Boy, we're close. Alright, it's been a minute, so let me think on what I need to do. Alright, let's see, so this is your kick down, and that honestly can stay. It should come out, it's going to clear everything. Getting dripped on. This bar, manual, they call it, basically a Z bar, but because of the shape that it makes. But this is basically just your shift linkage, and here's the rod that comes down from the column. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. That's the rod that comes down from the column. So, and a couple bolts there. I tell you what, you can probably pull these 2 bolts on the outside, this bolt here, and then pop this grommet out, and that should be free and clear. So that'll be the plan. Maybe. It's 5/8 on the top. All right, so hopefully you can see I took that bracket off, I flipped it, I walked it off the shaft right here, and then that way all we have to do is pop this grommet off, and that is all out of the way. Well, we'll probably end up taking this whole shift assembly out, and then in case we want to put in another truck, we'll have the complete assembly. So I know I do things a little bit different than a lot of people, but this is kind of how I learned. Let's see if I can walk this wrench in here. I think I need a little bigger one. Okay, that's popped out. So we've got our linkage here. We'll pop it out from the column, but we'll also remove it off of here. I believe these are 9/16 if I remember correctly. There's 2 of them here, and it's these 2. This one is for the brake proportioning valve. The great part about this truck is, 1, it's a relatively southern truck, and 2, everything's been apart more than once. So I think right now is a good time to stress that you should probably be wearing eye protection and not getting rust in your eyes like me. Alright, I think I might. So got that. I think I'm gonna lower the truck down and pop the lower the truck down, pop the linkage off of the column. Alright. I need a pry bar. If you do this right, you can stick this right through here and twist, and it'll come right out. Just be careful. I'm working against myself here. There we go. And it's popped out. And you can just use vice grips to clamp it back in. Let's see if I can pull it up. Probably got to go down, of course. Alright, shift linkage is out. Alright, so we're making the final push to get this thing out. I've got to leave at 4:30, so that gives us 45 minutes. The only thing that we really have left to do is to get the trans cross member out. Now, what I like to do, hopefully you can see what I've got going on here. Transmission needs supported. Okay? So what I've got here is a jack on the tail shaft transmission. You don't really want to put it in the pan. You can bend it, and the bell housing is a little bit too farther forward. So a 4x4 on the jack. What we need to do is get these bottom 2 and those upper 2 on both sides, and hopefully this will all work out in our favor. So once we drop this once we get all these bolts out, the cross member will drop out and then slide back, and then motor mounts, and we can pull the transmission, hopefully. Anyway, we're about to see. Alright, so we definitely have the weight of the transmission supported by the jack, but for safety reasons, it's always best to not have any digits or appendages up in here. And you always want to pull the last nut closest to you with no hands, fingers, or anything. Because if anything's going to bind or anything's going to drop, you don't want your fingers getting all smashed up. Alright, so see, it's in a little bit of a bind. That won't come loose. More than likely, if we drop this jack, it will start to come down. So let's get over here and see what happens. Or, tell you what, instead, we'll just lift the lift. Alright, just a little bit. What are we leaking? And from where? Oh, it's water. From the rear. Tell you what, I can actually plug that up with a header bolt from the rear header jacket. As we raise the truck up, it's more and more likely that this cross member will start to drop. If it doesn't, we may have to smack it with a hammer to coerce it a little bit. So let's raise the truck up a little more. I don't recommend doing this. Woo! See what I'm saying? That's why you stay away from it. We had everything hanging on one. So we're going to let the truck back down. That way we're not dumping too much water. All right, and that's why we always remove the distributor cap. It's always a possibility that the engine rocks backwards and busts the cap. So we're close. We're very close. We're gonna get the engine load leveler on in a good position. We'll probably end up using intake manifold bolts, but we'll see. Maybe we can get something at all four corners. We'll come back. So I'm getting all these chains set up and these load levelers set up. Chains are a little bit short to go to the manifold bolts. A lot of times that's what I like to use, but honestly in this case we're going to use the, I say manifold, exhaust manifold bolts, but in this case we're going to use the intake manifold bolts. Now I hope you can see this. I've beveled the edges. This was originally just squared off like this, right? Squared off. That doesn't fit anywhere. So anyway, we're getting the wide four corners of this intake manifold, and hopefully this is all going to work out in our favor. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but I'll try to put a link in the description for this load leveler. Now, look, chain hoist, excuse me, engine hoist is not necessary, okay? Excuse me, saying this backwards. Load leveler is not necessary. This is the first time that I've used this load leveler. Honestly, we've always used ratchet straps and come-alongs and other means. See, all right. So here's something you got to watch out for. This is looks like it's might be contacting the distributor. I think that when it starts pulling, it'll be off of it though. So I don't think it's going to bind into it. You want to make sure you're not contacting any studs, any thin casting marks. You don't, for example, like you don't want to bolt it to this little casting ridge for the coil. You absolutely blow that off. The other thing is, I like to put my leveler, sometimes I like to put it in the back, depends on the vehicle. I think in this case we'll probably put it on the front. See how this goes. It's still loose, so, but once we get it up off of that, it's gonna want to drop to that side and get some slack out. So I think we're gonna be all right. We're clearing the carb, and so looks like this thing's about ready to come out. So keep your fingers crossed for the engine mounts themselves are generally a 3/4 inch wrench. I've found that a gear wrench is just about the best thing for it. You can just drop off here, and I may have to break it free with something else, but good grief. Oh, he has put that special bracket in the way. Maybe I can still get to this. All right, that's off. Let's see what this does. That washer's still in there. Nope, that one didn't have a washer. Good grief. All right. Load leveler is keeping the transmission in place, so let's drop the back. Still feels like we're binding on something. Drop the rear some more. All right, that's where I want to be. About got all of our adjustment out for the leveler. Oops. Alright, what are we hanging on? Nothing on the back. I think we can just come up. If I got any battery left in this thing, I'd be sad if this thing died. It's coming out a little bit diagonal, but it's not the end of the world. I don't think anything's really hanging up. Looks like we're coming out diagonally. Tell you what, let me make sure this is tight. It is. It's always nerve-wracking doing this by yourself. All right, try to level this a little more. All right. Note to self, do better next time on the chains. think I need to get some sort of swivel on this too. Alright. Look at me. Pulling engines and stuff. Sorry, crew crab. Alright, let's let her down. Ooh, went down a little quick. Okay, time to go eat. All right, guys, that is it for the dually chapter. We've got it all stripped down. We've got the 318 and short shaft 727 pulled out. Really cool truck. It just had to have overdrive. And while you're at it, might as well put a Cummins in it. As you can see, we pulled everything out. We pulled the wiring harness out. We've got all the mounts, everything, including the transmission, cross member, bolts, wiring, linkages, anything that you might want to put to put a small block back in another truck. So anyway, it was a great run with this cool truck, and it's going to a good home. Like I said, he's going to put a 12 valve in it. So I think after this, our next step is to start on the blue 79 out there, and we've got some ideas I'd like to run by everyone, but we'll get to that in another video. Another fun thing, we just had this 94 turbo IDI dropped off, so we'll get to starting on that project. I know it's a basket case, but the owner seemed to think that it would be okay if we took basically over winter to finish it up, and everything's relatively mechanical on these IDIs, so it doesn't take much to run. I'm not sure if they have a detachable bell housing, but I would really be happy to actually start this on the pallet before we throw it in. But anyway, say goodbye to the dually. One of these days we'll have another crew cab to throw some parts at. But anyway, thanks for stopping by.